I don't want to dwell on this topic, but right now in Cambodia, there somehow is a battle between Thai's military and police against unarmed civilians, ordinary women and men. And it's been happening many times, but right now, it became violent. And by the way, if you don't think Thai's military can kill civilians, you have to think twice. Because they have been killing Malay Muslims living at the southern border for years, yet no justice has been provided to the Muslims who were killed by Thai police. So these are Thai foreign extrajudicial killings. And I really hope the problems in Cambodia will not turn into the killings of villagers. And many international news sites are now covering it. Ordinary women, men, and even monks are getting injured by Thai so-called police officers and military. And even Thailand's own media engine, Bangkok Post, and many other news sites from Thailand, they can't save this one. They made articles saying that they mentioned how police use tear gas and plastic bullets on civilians who use sticks, slingshots, and stones. Which, by the way, the slingshot, the stone that they claim Cambodia put out to them first, has not been verified. And plus, we have to take into consideration that those civilians are not just throwing sticks at the police officers and the military. They are being forced out of their homes that they have been living for decades. And instead of solving the problem through joint diplomatic channels, they use violence. And as I am editing this video, reports just came in that Thai military is intending on seizing territory at 17 other locations at the western and southwestern parts of Cambodia. This means the same picture that you just saw of violence being used will continue to happen within the border area. So by now, I hope you are questioning, why not solve it through joint diplomatic channels? Why violate the MOU signing that both countries agreed to? Because these actions are taken unilaterally with no discussions, and the people who have to pay the price are civilians, villagers who are fighting against equipped police and militaries. And I hope you, the viewer, put that into perspective, because I want to once again give you the basic rundown on what happened and based on everything that I have covered in previous videos, because there are so many stories, narratives that we will also forget what actually happened throughout the entire conflict. So for this 2025 problem, we can investigate by asking who would gain more from the conflict. If you look at Thai's politics, it has been in quite a turmoil for a while. It's not just me who said it, even Sweden's most trusted newspaper said that Thailand swings between military dictatorship and civilian government. And right after the conflict, the military of Thailand has support from its civilians, and a new prime minister has just been appointed. But let's re-roll back. Thailand was saying Cambodia was building fortification leading up to the conflict. Now, fortification does not mean attack or escalation. Do you remember in 2008 when Thailand military was building fortification a few hundred meters away from Preah Vihear? They called it self-defense, a country that has 8 times the size of Cambodian's military. Back then, oh, it's self-defense. But while Cambodia is building its own fortification, it's in its own territory, they call it escalation. And then somehow it leads to this big conflict where they use this satellite imagery as the evidence of Cambodian escalating attacks, and all of their civilians believe it. Which, by the way, even the guy who posted those satellite imagery mentioned how it doesn't show who attacked first. It shows the movement of troops. It shows fortification. And fortification is defense. It's not attacking. But Thai's military ran with that story, saying that Cambodia attacked first. And I want you to keep that story in mind, because leading up to May 28th, a Cambodian soldier was shot. This is not the first time. In the past, Cambodian soldiers were shot, but Cambodian retaliate. But this time, we took our fallen soldiers, we filed to the International Court of Justice, and Thailand said we fight it first, which is why they try to protect their territories, and they rejected ICJ ruling. Even their military makes a remark that they won't go to ICJ. If you want the land, let's duel. And they even made a remark saying that they can use military force without government approval. Is that a statement of peace? And you can go check all my previous video. I leave all the sources. Now, when they kill a Cambodian soldier on May 28th, they closed land border checkpoints, but they blame Cambodia for escalating tensions. Put the blame on Cambodia. When something bad happens, they blame Cambodia. But all of their civilians, they believe in their military. They voted that they trust the military in guiding them throughout this conflict. And that proved another point of my video on Thailand nationalism. You can go check it out. So they blame Cambodia for escalating tension. And then their former prime minister, then Paitongtarn Shinawatra, make a call to our former prime minister. She basically talked about how she wants peace, how she asked of our former prime minister to cooperate. We wanted to cooperate, but then their military made a statement that Cambodia withdraw their troops when the talk was more on troops adjustment. And not only that, their former prime minister then made a statement saying that Cambodian government is unprofessional. And then we leaked the phone call. Yet they blame us for interfering with their internal politics. And a lot of Thai nationalists do not question what is happening in their country, because right after the phone call was leaked, major escalations and accusations happened. I have covered it in previous video already, but it led to the conflict we have on July 24th. There was fighting. And then Thailand rejected mediation from ASEAN, rejected mediation from the UN, from the US, from China, and then was forced to accept mediation from Malaysia, which is the ASEAN chair. And then we have the ceasefire, where immediately after the ceasefire, Cambodia was blamed for breaking ceasefire, with no evidence, when literal neutral observers were at the borders. And the next day, after the ceasefire where people were supposed to meet, commanders are supposed to meet, Cambodian soldiers were captured. And 45 days later, today, Cambodian soldiers have not been released from Thailand. Just hearing all of that, which you can double check everything I said, is that a picture of peace? But the story didn't just end there. During the 5-day war, civilians from both sides suffered casualty. That is a horrible thing. But what is more horrible is disregarding the lives of those who lost on the other side. That is what Thailand government essentially did. They ignored all the casualties that were lost in Cambodia. They claimed they only attacked military targets. But proofs and international reports says different. But guess what? Their civilians believe it. When Cambodia made a complaint saying that Thailand bombing fighter jet left damage at a UNESCO site, Preah Vihear, inside Cambodian territory, Thailand military just said, no, we didn't do it. Their citizens comply. They agree. They believe them. No questions being asked. Again, go to the video I made about Thai nationalism.
As you can see, in the recent escalation of fighting, this Temple of World Heritage site has suffered significant damage. In fact, the Cambodians have recorded around 140 artillery strikes, they say, around the temple precincts.
And then the soldiers were captured. At first, the soldiers were not given the title Prisoner of War. Cambodia complained. They gave them the title Prisoner of War on 4th of August, about nearly a week after they were captured. And then, Thailand first rejected ASEAN observers. But later on August the 7th, they were forced or reluctantly accept ASEAN observers with a limited amount of people. And another thing you have to take into consideration is that because these actions are taken by military with no discussion, personally I see it as an attempt, a provocation. And this is Thailand's cruel tactic of using military force against civilians. Since right now there are too many ASEAN observers, Thailand cannot blame Cambodia for breaking ceasefire. So instead, they move the narrative to trespassing, where they use police and military to kick civilians out of their homes using violence. And doing so, they blame Cambodia for using human shield, disregarding the fact they are kicking people out of their own homes. And if Cambodia were to use military force to help the civilians, there is a very high likelihood that Thailand will blame Cambodia for breaking ceasefire, just like they did before. So I want you to understand this cheap tactic used by the Thai's military. The Thai's military do not care what other people think about them. What matters is rallying support from its civilians. Ordinary women's and ordinary men's bleeding. And I just want to ask you, is that something that you condemn? And what makes it even worse is the fact that we are all humans. We have warm blood. We are literally the same race living in a country near each other. And if we have an example in the United States, let's say there is a deployment of soldiers and police at areas that are unfair, there would be protests, or there would be division of ideas. One would support, one would disagree. But in Thailand, it's different. All I have seen so far is like 2 among hundreds of comments who condemn military violence. And so I get it. Nationalism exists in every society as a social group. Maybe it's small. It exists. Yes, nationalism. It's not good, but it exists. However, in Thailand, it's different. It's different in the sense that nationalism is engineered into children the moment they were born, the moment they go to kindergarten, high school. I covered it in my previous video. You can watch it. But that is how the problem has came to be today, where humans are supposed to be progressing in a way where we can understand each other even we are across borders. Instead, we are being fueled by hate, and we don't care to see bloods that are shed toward civilians. And instead, we chose to believe words coming out of people's mouth who hold guns and weapons, who are military. We instead chose to believe their words. And that is the cruel part about this picture between Cambodia and Thailand. The relationship between these two countries will not be better over time. But I think living in this digital world, over time, this sense of nationalism, this ugly side of nationalism that Thailand has been instilling in children for decades, this will become the first case study on that, because it has never been shown before. And I want to move on from this topic. I don't want to talk about it. I'm doing my other jobs. But when I see pictures of monks and women's and men's and children's involving in this conflict and losing their homes without even being given a chance to talk through joint channels and solve this peacefully. Instead, right now I'm seeing them having their blood being shed. That is not a picture of peace, humanity that myself and I'm sure a lot of you viewers want to see. And I saw hundreds of comments using one logic. They disapprove of my video. They say, "Oh, why don't you talk about Cambodia? Are you insecure? Are you insecure when I talk about your country?" I have lived in Cambodia for all of my life, all 25 years of my life. I know my country. We all in Cambodia knows the problems we have in Cambodia. But we are actively solving those problems, and we don't involve other country in our problem. That is the difference. And I don't get a lot of your logic. Some of you are even asking me, why do Cambodia want Thailand's land that badly? Why don't you go and check history on what actually happened? The amount of military incursion Thailand has had on Cambodia over the last 100 years. Why don't you go check on that? Or has your history books or textbook, changed it up a bit? I'm not sure, but you go check on it and fact check it with international sources. And again, all of the videos I made in the past, I leave sources. And I clearly mentioned that the videos, they are more nuanced to each point being presented. Otherwise, there will be a 5 hours video, which is why I encourage you to use the source. Go check what is actually happening even more yourself. Or have you just completely ignored that part? Or did you just watch 10 seconds of the video and just shut it off and comment it? I want this video to serve as a reminder on what actually happens during this entire time between Thailand and Cambodia, and I want to bind it all together. Again, you can go check my previous video. If you don't have time, just watch the video on Thai nationalism so you can understand the root cause to this problem, why we see such horrible comments as well as words being put out, not just by ordinary civilians, but by big medias, as well as news reporter in Thailand and influencers making remarks that I would personally say are either xenophobic or in a way racist. And that is not something that we as humans should be progressing, and definitely are not something that ASEAN should be progressing toward. So that is it for me for this video. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this problem at the borders are solved through joint diplomatic channels instead of using violence on civilians and hurting those civilians. Yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye and peace.